beloved child. Before you ever asked the question, I had already spoken the answer. Before your first cry echoed into the night, I had already written your story in the fabric of eternity. I saw you, fully, deeply, intricately, before you, saw your own reflection. I did not begin to love you after you accomplished something. I loved you into existence. My voice spoke you forth not because I needed you to prove your worth, but because I wanted you to carry my heart. Do you not yet see it? You are not a product of chance. You are not the sum of their opinions. You are not defined by your detours or confined by your delays. You are my design, and I do not create with uncertainty. Everything about you was intentional. Your quiet strength, your persistent hope, your longing for justice, your ache for something more. None of it is accidental. You carry my fingerprints, and I have not changed my mind about you. You've walked through seasons where it felt as if heaven had forgotten, where the prayers you whispered fell back in echoes, where you kept serving in shadows, loving without recognition, building without affirmation. And yes, I saw that flicker of doubt rise, that moment when you questioned, have I been abandoned? But oh child, I was closer in those moments than ever before. For in your wilderness, I was not watching from afar. I was the one holding your hand. I know what it's like to be unseen. I walked roads where those I came for rejected me. I stood in rooms where my miracles were questioned. I spoke truth and watched it fall to the ground unheard. I know the sting of being misunderstood, but I also know the power of being grounded in identity, and that is what I've been forming in you. You thought you were in delay, but I was developing depth. You thought you were being overlooked, but I was establishing your roots. You assumed the silence meant you were behind, but I was aligning every step to my timing. Your waiting was never wasted. Every tear you cried into your pillow, I caught. Every time you stayed when it would have been easier to leave, I noted. Every secret yes, every whispered prayer, every act of obedience, heaven kept record, and not for reward, but for remembrance. Because I don't measure your faith by applause, I measure it by surrender. You have surrendered more than they'll ever know. Not just your time, not just your gifts, but your name, your dream, your pride. You laid it all at my feet, not for platform, but for presence, and I have seen it. Every piece, every part, every place you thought was forgotten, but I am not finished. In fact, I am just beginning. What you mistook as silence was strategy. What you felt as stillness was sacred preparation. I was not inactive, I was intentional. I was removing the noise so you could hear me clearly again. So you could learn the rhythm of my voice, not the rhythm of expectation. You were not buried. You were planted. And now, child, you are beginning to rise, not with fanfare, not with a parade, but with quiet confidence, with truth that has been forged in fire, with peace that has outlived storms, with faith that has passed through the valley and still sings. You are rising, not for recognition, but for revelation. You are rising because the world needs what I've placed in you, not the filtered version, not the diluted dream, but the raw, holy, refined reality of my spirit alive within you. This is not your comeback. This is your becoming. My child, you once thought the wilderness was your punishment, but now I want you to see it for what it truly was, a womb, a place of unseen forming, a space where roots could grow deep before the fruit could ever be seen. I didn't bring you there to break you. I led you there to build you. I was not absent in the silence. I was the silence. I was speaking even when you could not hear. I was shaping even when you could not feel. The wilderness was never about what I was withholding from you. It was always about what I was growing in you. You see, there are some depths that only drought can uncover. There are some truths that only trials can make visible. You have mistaken stillness for stagnation. But I tell you now, what felt like delay was actually divine pacing, not to hinder you, but to strengthen you for what you were always meant to carry. For I don't call the strong and then make them ready. I call the willing and then make them strong. You didn't need credentials. You needed courage. You didn't need validation. You needed vision. And so I led you to the places where the crowd could not follow, because I didn't want their noise to distort what I was whispering to your heart. They didn't see what I was doing in you. They couldn't. I hid you on purpose. And yes, I saw how much that hurt. I saw the moments you watched others be elevated, while you remained behind the scenes. I heard the ache in your soul when you asked, have I been forgotten? And even though you kept walking, even though you kept serving, even though your mouth declared faith, I knew the questions that your silence carried. I never rebuked you for them. I sat with you in them, because your honesty has always been more valuable to me than your performance. You asked me if you missed it. You looked around and wondered if maybe you were passed over. But I need you to hear this clearly. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not lacking. You are exactly where I need you to be, because I have been leading you step by step, even when the path felt invisible. This is the thing about my voice. It doesn't shout to compete with the noise. It whispers to draw you close. And every time you came to me, not with your perfection but with your pain, I responded. Not always with answers, but always with presence. And presence is what shaped you. You don't even know how much I've poured into you. You don't realize yet how much you've changed. Because when you walk with me, transformation is not loud, it's layered. It happens in the 1,000 unseen choices, in the decision to forgive, in the quiet prayer for strength, in the discipline of showing up when nothing feels easy, in the moments where you choose peace over performance, identity over image, surrender over striving. Those are the places where heaven moved most. The wilderness broke your dependence on applause. It dismantled your need to be understood. It purified your motives. It silenced the voice of comparison. It made you dangerous to the enemy because now you know who you are even when no one else affirms it. And now the enemy is nervous. Not because you're growing louder, but because you're growing clearer. Clarity is a threat. Confidence, rooted in truth, is a weapon. And you have learned to wield it not with arrogance, but with peace. You no longer need to prove your calling. You simply walk in it. That's authority. That's what I've been cultivating in you all along. Now let me tell you why I've waited. Because what I've placed in you is weighty. And weight needs foundation. Influence without identity becomes idolatry. But you, my child, have been built on something deeper. Not applause, not image, not performance, but presence. You have chosen presence again and again, when it cost you position, when it meant staying silent, when it looked like losing. You chose me, and I never miss that. Now comes the moment when the womb opens and what was hidden begins to breathe in the open air. Not because the time was right on the world's clock, but because you were ready within. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel completely prepared. You just need to keep walking. Your obedience is still the key. So don't look to the left or the right. Don't measure your life by timelines that weren't written for you. Don't covet the crowns others carry. I've placed a mantle on you that fits no one else, and I'm about to reveal it. Not for attention, not for revenge, but for glory. Mine and ours together. This is not about being seen by them. This is about being sent by me. My child, I know the language of shadows. I know how silence can stretch across days, how it can linger like a fog around your confidence. I know how it feels to labor in places where recognition never comes, where your voice echoes back at you, unanswered. I know how it feels to wonder if your obedience is still producing anything, if your prayers are still heard, if your presence still matters. Let me assure you, it is. They are. You do. You have not been walking in circles. You've been walking through layers. The difference is subtle but sacred. You've been moving deeper, not just forward. You've been walking through refinement, not delay. You have been shedding the need to be seen so that you could learn how to be sent. You've been releasing the old names, the false attachments, the hidden fears. You've been shedding the version of yourself that was still molded by survival and stepping into the one shaped by surrender. And that has taken more courage than most will ever understand. Let me be clear, your hiddenness was not rejection. It was protection, not punishment, but preservation. I've watched as you adjusted your tone to make others feel more comfortable. I've seen you dim your insight so it wouldn't seem too sharp. I know the nights when you questioned, is it safer to be quiet than to be misunderstood again? But you need to hear me now. Your voice was never too much. It was just too early for some, but not for me. I placed my sound in you. And I never mistook your silence for passivity. I never interpreted your caution as cowardice. You were not quiet because you lacked boldness. You were quiet because you were discerning, because you were still healing, because you were still learning the cadence of my voice. And that kind of sensitivity is rare. That's why I've trusted you with revelation others haven't carried, because I knew you would hold it with reverence. There is a sound I'm stirring in you now, a sound that does not ask for permission, but does not demand attention. It's the sound of one who has been with me, one who no longer needs to prove their anointing, because their steps speak louder than their words. One who carries fire but knows how to steward it with humility. Your voice will begin to rise again, but not as a shout, as a shift. A shift in atmosphere, a shift in understanding, a shift in the room when you speak because you no longer speak from desire to be heard. You speak from communion, and that kind of voice carries authority. It doesn't echo from a place of emptiness, it resounds from overflow. Yes, overflow, because that is what I am bringing you into. No longer scraping for scraps of encouragement, no longer surviving on the affirmation of others, no longer interpreting delay as dismissal. You are entering a space where you will live, lead, and love from the overflow of my presence, and everything you need will be found there. You used to ask, what if they don't see me? But now your question has changed. Now you ask, God, where are you leading me? And that shift in posture is what has unlocked this new season. Because when your identity became more rooted in being with me than being recognized by them, the door opened. Not a door made by man. A door built by my timing, with hinges that only I hold. So hear me again. You don't need to knock down doors. I never asked you to walk through. You don't need to force access where I've not given invitation. You don't need to make noise to gain favor. You already have my favor. And what I open, no one can shut. You've learned how to stand in silence. Now I'm teaching you how to move in clarity, not rushing, not performing, just moving, step by step, whisper by whisper, word by word. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You need obedience to glow. And your obedience, even in shadows, has released light in realms you didn't even know you were impacting. So don't stop now. You're not beginning again. You're continuing at a higher level in a deeper place with fuller vision. The clarity you're receiving now is the result of years of unseen faithfulness. And I'm multiplying what you've carried. I'm breathing on what you thought was dormant. I'm reigniting what you nearly buried. You will look back on this time not as your undoing, but as your unveiling. They saw a quiet figure. I saw a warrior of stillness. They saw someone uncertain, I saw a disciple of my voice. They overlooked you. I overflowed you. And now, my child, it's time to speak, not to defend, but to declare, not to explain, but to establish, not to be heard, but to release what I've formed within you. And the sound will not be loud. It will be lasting, because when you speak with heaven in your lungs, earth must respond. My child, I want to speak to you now about obedience, not as the world defines it as restriction or burden, but as heaven knows it, oil, holy oil, the kind that anoints, that sets apart, that prepares you for places no man could send you and no system could qualify you for. You see, obedience is not about doing more. It's about being aligned. It's not about activity. It's about intimacy. True obedience flows from proximity, not from fear of failure, but from faith in my voice, and you have walked in it. You have obeyed me when there was no reward. You have stayed when it would have been easier to go. You have served when you were not seen and given when you were not thanked. And I say this to you with clarity and compassion. I saw every moment. I saw you pick up assignments no one else wanted. I saw you intercede for people who never thanked you. I saw you sow in places that gave no return. I saw the tears you cried, not because you were faithless, but because you were faithful and weary. And I did not forget. Heaven records what earth ignores. The weight of obedience you have carried has not been wasted. In fact, it has been producing oil that no one saw but that I've been collecting. And now in this season I am about to pour that oil out. Not as a reward for performance, but as a manifestation of my presence. This oil cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed. It is the oil of the crushed, the consecrated, the consistent. The oil of those who kept showing up without applause. The oil of those who were faithful in the fog. The oil of those who trusted me when they could not trace. Me, you carry that oil, and it will begin to flow, not just in spiritual spaces, but in natural places. Your home will be saturated with peace you did not manufacture. Your workplace will shift without you saying a word. Your conversations will carry clarity even before a full sentence is spoken. It is not charisma. It is not intellect. It is not strategy. It is obedience. And obedience is magnetic to heaven. It draws the movement of the Spirit like wind drawn to fire. And you, child, have been lit, not by hype, not by ambition, but by surrender. The world taught you to climb ladders, but I taught you to build altars. And altars will always lead further than ambition ever could. Because ambition reaches up. Altars bring me down, and I have come near. Not because you performed perfectly, but because you worshipped honestly. Your obedience has not gone unnoticed. It has built something eternal. You think you've been walking quietly, but in the spirit realm, your steps have thundered. Every time you forgave without being asked, every time you gave without being praised, every time you said yes with trembling hands, you sent shockwaves through the atmosphere. Because obedience always breaks open the way for my presence to move. And now, the way is open. You will begin to see things that once seemed impossible begin to respond to your movement, not because you are pushing harder, but because you are aligned more deeply. This is the season where your obedience unlocks others' breakthrough, where your yes becomes a catalyst for multiplied miracles. But hear me clearly. You must protect the oil. Not everyone will understand the cost. Not everyone will appreciate the sacrifice. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to guard what is sacred, to carry the oil without spilling it for applause, to stay in step with me even when the path is misunderstood by others. There will be offers, opportunities, invitations. Some will look right but feel wrong. Don't rush. Pause. Ask me. Not every open door is your door. Not every spotlight is your platform. You are not chasing stages. You are releasing sound. You are not building for fame. You are building for impact. Let your discernment rise now. Let your spirit stay sensitive. I have trained your ears in the quiet so that they can hear clearly, even in the noise. And you will know. You will feel my peace, or the absence of it. That's how I lead you. Not through fear, but through peace. And even when peace does not come first, my spirit will. I will remind you who you are. I will realign your motives. I will convict when needed, correct with kindness, confirm with precision. And when you move with me, the oil will flow. It will bless others, yes, but it will also shield you. My anointing is not only for power, it is for preservation. It keeps you covered in places where your skill would not sustain you. So carry the oil. Protect it. Pour it where I say. And remember, your obedience is not small. It is sacred. It is shaking ground even when your feet feel unsure. It is opening gates even when your hands feel empty. I have trusted you with this because I trust your heart. And I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for pursuit. And I see that in you. So keep walking. Keep listening. Keep obeying. This next wave of release is not about proving anything, it's about pouring everything. And you, my child, are ready. Because you've learned that obedience isn't about being celebrated. It's about being surrendered. And I can do more with one surrendered soul than with 1,000 striving hearts. My child, let me prepare you now, not just for what I am doing within you, but for how what I've placed in you will begin to affect the spaces you enter. For too long, you've questioned whether your presence matters. You've entered rooms wondering if you're too much, too quiet, too deep, too sensitive. But let me speak plainly now. Your presence carries me. And that changes everything. Not because of volume, not because of visibility, but because when you enter in obedience, you don't walk in alone. You walk in with my spirit. And where my spirit is, atmosphere shifts. Not always in fireworks or fanfare. Sometimes it shifts in a whisper, in a weight, in a silence that settles heavy with clarity. You've mistaken your subtlety for smallness, but heaven sees the undercurrent. You've been carrying something holy. You've been hosting something sacred. There is authority on your life that cannot be explained by resume or background, not because you've earned it, but because you've endured for it. Not because you've mastered performance, but because you've chosen presence. And now, when you walk into rooms, there will be things that recognize that oil, things that tried to linger. Confusion, fear, division. They won't be able to stay. Not because of your personality, but because of my power. I want you to stop apologizing for the shift that happens when you speak from revelation. Some will be drawn to it. Some will be disrupted by it, but all will be changed by it. Not because you're imposing, but because you're aligned. There's a fragrance on you that comes from fire, a depth that cannot be taught, a purity that convicts without condemnation. This is the fruit of surrender, and it cannot be mimicked. It cannot be copied. It can only be cultivated in my presence. Let me say this. Not every room you walk into will celebrate you. But every room you walk into in obedience will be accountable for how they respond to what I've placed in you. You don't need to defend your mantle. You don't need to explain your discernment. When I've sent you, I go with you. I precede you. I speak even when you're silent. And I will vindicate you not with arguments, but with fruit. You've watched people rise before you. You've seen doors open for others while yours remained shut. You've wondered, is there something I'm not doing? But it was never about doing, it was about timing. You were not waiting because you lacked value. You were waiting because you carry weight. And weight takes time to anchor. Now, I'm opening doors. Not just physical doors, spiritual ones. Doors of discernment, doors of clarity, doors of influence. And with every door I open, I'm asking you not to change who you are to fit the room. I'm asking you to stay rooted in who I formed you to be. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to swell. You just have to stay surrendered. There is favor coming that has nothing to do with your network and everything to do with your name. Your true name, the one I've called you from before the foundation of the world. The one the world tried to bury. The one trauma tried to distort. The one rejection tried to erase. But I have never stopped speaking it. That name carries authority. That name carries purpose. And when I speak it over you, doors respond. That's why alignment matters. Not because I need your performance, but because I want your posture. When you walk in posture, you carry peace, you carry weight. And that weight silences rooms. Not through intimidation, but through presence. You have walked through long seasons of silence. Now you will walk into rooms where your voice releases strategy. Rooms where your countenance carries comfort. Rooms where your quiet confidence will disrupt confusion. But hear me clearly. Don't seek the room. Seek me. I will lead you to the rooms that are assigned to your voice. Not every stage is yours. Not every platform is your pulpit. You don't need a microphone to speak with impact. You don't need credentials to move in authority. You need me. And you have me. So walk in. Not with anxiety, with assurance. Not with explanation, with evidence. Not with pride, with peace. And when they ask, "Who is this?" you will not need to explain yourself. The fruit will speak. The peace will speak. The fire in your eyes that has survived the storm will speak. The posture of one who did not chase favor, but who was found faithful, will speak. I am placing you in rooms not because you demanded entry, but because you carried presence where no one was watching. Now I'm watching the door swing open. And I'm not just giving you entrance, I'm giving you impact. So go, my child. Not to perform, to carry, to shift, to speak when I say speak, to stay silent when I say stay silent, to love even when you are not understood, to release even when you are not received. You are not the same as before. The wilderness shaped you. The hidden years prepared you. And now the room is ready. But more importantly, so are you. My child, before we go further, let's pause here, not to look around, but to look within. Because before you carry greater influence, before you step into deeper assignments, I want to restore something more important than opportunity. I want to restore identity, not the version of yourself shaped by what you've been through, not the personality you curated to survive, not the false humility that hid your gifts so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable, but the real you, the one I designed, the one I've seen all along, the one who danced before life told you to perform, the one who wept before anyone taught you to apologize for, your sensitivity, the one who dreamed with me before disappointment taught you to lower your expectations. Want to reintroduce you to you, because the rooms I'm leading you into now cannot be filled by a version of yourself that still believes the old labels. You cannot carry legacy if you're still questioning whether you even belong. You cannot release truth while still negotiating with shame. So let's name it. What you've buried, what you've called just the past, what you've minimized as just a phase. Let me bring it into the light, not to condemn it, to heal it, the rejection that rewired how you saw yourself, the friendship that faded without explanation, the role you gave your heart to, only to be replaced, the words that were never said, but should have been, the things you shrugged off in public but bled from in private. I saw all of it, and I know how it made you question not just your worth but your design, how it made you look in the mirror and think, what did I do wrong? How it made you approach future relationships with guarded hope, how it made you rehearse your presence so no one would see your pain. But child, I want to speak to the part of you that's been performing just to feel safe. You don't have to audition for acceptance anymore. You are already accepted. You are. already chosen. And I don't choose based on polish, I choose based on purpose. I don't need you flawless. I need you whole. And wholeness is not perfection. It is truth wrapped in grace. It's you, fully known and fully loved. It's the you that weeps in worship, the you that's quiet in the crowd, the you that kept going when no one clapped. That version of you is not only enough, that version of you is anointed. Let me peel back the layers now. The over-apologizing, the second-guessing, the shrinking, the pleasing. Let me speak directly to the false names you've worn for too long. You are not too sensitive. You are perceptive. You are not too quiet. You are discerning. You are not overlooked. You are preserved. You are not replaceable. You are appointed. And no matter who walked away, I never did. I didn't stop shaping you when they stopped speaking to you. I didn't stop building you when they stopped believing in you. I didn't change my plans when they changed their minds. I held every part of you together in the silence. And now I want you to know this. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What looked like abandonment was actually alignment. What felt like being forgotten was actually being fortified. Because the calling I placed in you is still intact. The dream I whispered is still alive. And the identity I spoke over you in secret is still valid, no matter how many people didn't see it. So now, walk in it. Walk in it not with arrogance, but with awareness. Walk in it not with hesitation, but with humility. Walk in it not as someone trying to prove a point, but as someone carrying a promise. The world may still try to call you by your former season, but I have renamed you by your future. They may still remember your breaking, but I have marked you by your becoming. You are not who you were in the pain, you are who you chose to be through the pain. That is strength. That is honor. That is identity built in fire. I don't need your perfect track record, I need your permission to restore. So give me access, not just to your dreams, but to your disappointments. Not just to your strengths, but to your shadows. Not just to your vision, but to your vulnerability. Let me into the memories that still sting, the comparisons that still echo, the insecurities that still whisper when you're alone. I don't condemn you. I cover you. I cover what was lost with restoration. I cover what was fractured with favor. I cover what was shamed with strength. And now I crown you, not with the approval of man, but with the affirmation of heaven. So when you walk into the next season, don't walk as one trying to gain acceptance. Walk as one who knows they are sent. Walk as one who has nothing to prove, only something to pour. Walk as one who is no longer afraid to be fully seen, because you are finally walking as someone who has been fully known. Let this be the season you stop apologizing for who I made you to be. Let this be the season your voice returns without filters. Let this be the season your worship flows without walls. Let this be the season you rise not just publicly, but internally. Because, child, this isn't just a restoration of opportunity, it's a restoration of identity, and that changes everything. My child, now that your identity is being restored, and your soul is learning again to breathe without fear, I must prepare you for the weight that comes with what you're carrying. Not the weight of pressure, but the weight of glory. Yes, glory. You see, many desire to be used, but few are willing to be entrusted. Many want to be seen, but few are willing to be stretched. Glory is not a feeling, it is not a moment. It is a mantle. And mantles are heavy, not to crush you, but to root you. Not to limit you, but to anchor you when the winds of visibility begin to blow. Because, my child, what I am about to release through your life will carry weight. It will influence rooms, shift generations, and bring healing in places others only touched with theory. You won't just speak change. You will embody it. You won't just teach truth. You will become it. You won't just echo revelation. You will release it. But first, hear me clearly. First, you must remember my glory rests on those who rest in me. You cannot carry this in your own strength. The more influence I entrust to you, the deeper your dependence must become. Don't let open doors deceive you into thinking you can walk without direction. Don't let applause distract you from intimacy. Let this ring deep within you. My presence is your strategy. My spirit is your supply. Stay with me, because the more I elevate, the more tempting it will be to manage rather than abide. But you were not made to manage the supernatural. You were made to live immersed in it. And immersion begins with communion. Communion begins with presence. Presence requires attention. So give me your attention before you give them your answer. Pause with me before you post. Sit with me before you strategize. Let me speak before you perform. Let me lead before you move. Because what I am building through you cannot be sustained by hustle. It must be held by holiness. Holiness is not perfection. Holiness is separation. It's choosing to stay close when the world demands more. It's choosing to slow down when culture says speed up. It's choosing to retreat with me when the crowd says stay visible. Holiness says, your presence is my prize, and I will respond. I will give you insight that doesn't come from education. I will give you answers that don't come from algorithms. I will give you words that pierce soul and bone, not because you're persuasive, but because you're present with me. This is the glory I'm entrusting to you. Not fame, but fire. Not status, but substance. Not lights, but light. Light that reveals. Light that heals. Light that exposes darkness and calls forth destiny. There is a fire coming to your life that will not burn out because it will not come from effort. It will come from encounter. It will burn within you first, in your secret place, in your hidden hours, in your private consecration, in your honest prayers where you bring me not just your gifts, but your grief, where you bring me not just your vision, but your vulnerability, where you say, God, I don't want to just be used, I want to be like you. And I will answer, because I do not just want servants. I want sons and daughters who carry my nature, not just my name. Those who reflect my heart, not just my miracles. Those who walk in character, not just charisma. Those who kneel before they speak. Those who listen before they lead. And you, child, are that one. I have tested your heart, not to shame you, but to refine you. I have silenced certain seasons, not to ignore you, but to see if you would still follow. And you did. You followed, through fog. You obeyed in obscurity. You stayed tender in trials. And because you have been faithful with little, I will now trust you with much. But I say this with tenderness. Do not let the fruit fool you into thinking the root no longer matters. Stay grounded in grace. Let your strength be your surrender. Let your power be your posture. Keep low and I will lift. Stay yielded and I will sustain. Because the glory coming to your life will not make you feel bigger. It will make me clearer. And that clarity will become your compass. It will help you discern between open doors and open distractions, between applause and assignment, between noise and necessity. There will be temptations to expand prematurely, to say yes to things that stroke your ego but rob your peace, to accept invitations that validate your gift but drain your spirit. You must stay anchored. Say no when I say no. Step back when I say pause. Speak only when the oil flows. Move only when the cloud lifts. And trust me, the places I am leading you are worth the discipline. For I am bringing you into spaces where glory will rest. Not visit, but dwell. Environments where cycles will be broken because of your obedience. Moments where entire atmospheres shift, not because you impressed, but because you obeyed. This is what it means to be a carrier of glory. So protect what I've given you. Guard your heart. Honor your mantle. Keep your hands clean and your motives pure. And above all, keep your eyes on me. Because in this next season, it will not be the loud who lead. It will be the lit. The ones whose flames cannot be explained, whose eyes have seen the fire of my altar and lived to testify. The ones who know the cost and still say, "Yes, Lord, send me." You are that one. So carry the weight with reverence. Carry it with wonder. Carry it with worship, not for performance, but for presence. The weight of glory is not a burden. It is your becoming. My child, now that the refining is complete, now that identity is restored, and your heart has returned to the rhythm of my voice, I speak to you not with whispers of preparation, but with the sound of unveiling. The time has come, not for performance, not for spectacle, but for purpose to rise in full clarity. This is not the beginning of your calling. This is the revealing of what I've always known about you. What heaven has seen in secret is now stepping into sight. What I whispered in private is now becoming your public reality. What you carried through pain, through prayer, through perseverance, it is about to bloom in full. You are not rising to be noticed. You are rising because I've appointed this moment. You are not here by chance. You are standing in destiny. You are walking in fulfillment. You are living in alignment. And every delay has only deepened your foundation. Now the fruit will show, and yes, it will be undeniable. Not loud in volume, but undeniable in substance. Your words will pierce not because they are clever, but because they are consecrated. Your presence will carry weight not because of your resume, but because of your resilience. You are my evidence. You are the answer to prayers prayed by generations before you. You are the fulfillment of seeds sown in intercession. You are the proof that hiddenness was never punishment. It was preparation. And now, I'm lifting the veil, not so that others can applaud, but so that they may see my glory in you, so that the broken may find healing, so that the weary may find hope, so that the silent may find their voice again. I'm not revealing a version of you that fits expectations. I'm revealing the original design, pure, unfiltered, filled with fire and peace, truth and tenderness. The version of you I dreamed into existence before the foundations of the world. This is not about building your name. It's about carrying mine. And as you go forth, I want you to remember, this unveiling is not a peak. It's a platform, not the final stop. It's a beginning, a commissioning. You are being sent, not just into rooms, but into regions. Not just into influence, but into impact. Not just into visibility, but into victory. And with this sending comes stewardship. Steward your voice, not just to speak, but to listen. Steward your mind, not just to plan, but to perceive. Steward your strength, not to strive, but to serve. Steward your heart, not to impress, but to remain intimate with me. You will walk into spaces that once felt closed. You will be invited into tables where your name was once dismissed. You will be remembered by those who once overlooked you. But don't go back with bitterness. Go back with blessing. You carry reconciliation now. You carry maturity. You carry heaven's rhythm. And when you enter, don't bring proof. Bring peace. You will not need to explain the years of silence. You will not need to justify the waiting. You will not need to detail the depth of the valleys you walked through. Your fruit will speak. Your faith will speak. Your fire will speak. Have clothed you in glory. I have surrounded you with favor. I have sealed you with purpose. And now the world will see what I've always seen. My image, reflected through your life. But before you rise, stay close. Before you build, remain still. Before you step forward, remember that I am not sending you without me. I'm going with you. You don't need to walk ahead. You don't need to lag behind. Just walk with me. Breathe with me. Create with me. Speak with me. Live with me. This is the way of unveiling. Not that you become more, but that I become more in you. So now take courage, not the kind that shouts in strength, but the kind that whispers in stillness. God is with me. You are not entering unprepared. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are entering fulfillment. You are stepping into the promise. And every step from this point forward will echo with authority. Not because of the size of your following, but because of the size of your faithfulness. So declare it with me. I am not hidden. I am revealed. I am not rejected. I am released. I am not forgotten. I am favored. I am not broken. I am burning. I am not rising for applause. I am rising for purpose. I am not chasing destiny. I am walking in it. The unveiling is not coming. The unveiling is here. And now, child, go. Go with fire in your eyes and peace in your heart. Go with my presence as your portion and my voice as your guide. Go. Not as someone needing validation, but as someone who has already been called, confirmed, and crowned. Go and be the evidence. Go and be the vessel. Go and be the reflection of all I've placed within you. This is your season. Not of striving, but of stepping. Not of chasing, but of carrying. Not of proving, but of pouring. And I will be with you, every step, every breath, every moment. Because you are mine. And I am not just lifting you. I am revealing you. Not for their applause, but for my glory. Amen.